Welcome to Boy Time Podcast. We're gonna get litty time, yeah. Oh, it's your Boy Time Podcast. Coming in with the slam dunk of a theme song.
Hi ho ho, it's me, Elizabeth Banks, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast, and as always, I'm joined by Babby and Paul. I'm a little bit of a lying man because I said Paul wouldn't be back for a couple weeks, but then Paul's here today.
Yeah.
So, that's my bad.
Never listen to this guy.
Yeah, it ruins my journalistic integrity whenever Paul shows up. We have a slam dunk episode as always. There isn't a whole bunch of news. There's been some interesting stuff happening at Warner Brothers. I feel like I say that every single week, but they're drowning over there, so they're making some crazy decisions. And then so as some of you may know, I have this giant 1,500 movie poster of all these things that I should watch, and we're not sponsored by this website or anything, but I put it all into a website called Just Watch. It's a free little website. You can Google a movie and then it tells you all the services it's on. So I put my entire watch list on that website, and then I could filter that watch list by only saying, well, I want to search everything that's on Netflix that's in this watch list, or I can filter it other ways. What I did this week is that I filtered my entire watch list by IMDb score, and then I watched the 3 lowest rated movies on the list. And spoilers, one of them is legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I think it might be the worst movie I've ever seen. And I've seen like Birdemic and like I don't know, Neil Breen movies. And this movie took the cake easily. It was crazy how bad it was. So I'll be talking about that. But as always, we'll start with gaming. Not a whole lot of gaming news. The state of play that we talked about last week happened. I didn't watch it. And from what I could see from the Suicide Squad game is that it doesn't look... I mean, it looks fine, but compared to Rocksteady's other stuff, it doesn't look good. So, a little disappointing. But I think the big thing that happened this week, I think it actually came out either today or yesterday, is the Elden Ring expansion that was announced. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. I don't think it has a release date or anything. There was just a picture, and it's in development. So, Elden Ring DLC is coming soon, TM, I suppose. But that's it for gaming. That's it. There's not a whole lot to talk about with the Elden Ring thing either. It's just that it is happening some point. We'll move on to movie news. We'll start off with the A24 thing, because I think this is still going on. But the hit film Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think it was it was my number 2 movie of the year, but it was Babby's favorite movie of the year. We are big fans of this film. So it was nice. They're doing a big old auction thing. I don't know if you saw this, James.
No.
No. So they're auctioning off almost all of the props from the movie. You can see, you can get like Evelyn's costume, like a lot of the costumes too, which is interesting. Like you can get like the Jobu Tupaki where she's like wearing like all white, and then she has like the donut in her hair, or the bagel, I guess, in her hair. You can get like that outfit. There's also like the outfit that's like scraps of all the different outfits all in one, where it gets all weird and warpy. That one's selling for a lot. Or you can get the actual screen test hot dog hands, which that's what I want. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. They're doing this auction, and then all of the proceeds are going to a bunch of different charities. The Asian Mental Health Project, Laundry Workers Center, and Transgender Law Center. So, good cause. If you're rich and you want to buy me some hot dog hands, I would appreciate it. Send me an email, and we can coordinate you sending me these hot dog hands. So, but you'd have to be willing to drop like $20K, because I checked like when the auction started, and they were already at $6K, and it's been like about a week. So I need Jeff Bezos to send me an email so that he can send me some hot dog hands. I would love to get some screen tested props, because that would be pretty neat. But I am poor. So there you go. It's kind of interesting. And the only other bit of movie news came out earlier this week that we're getting some new Lord of the Rings movies. I guess Warner Brothers is excited to get back into the Middle Earth thing, especially after their show was great. I don't know. I didn't finish it. I watched like 3 episodes, and I have no interest in going back. So it sounds like we're getting some more stuff. Peter Jackson and his writing team came out this week, and they were like, "We're so excited to hear from Warner Brothers for getting involved in the project," which is code for we didn't know that this was happening, and okay, cool, I guess. They aren't involved right now. But then it came out today, as of us recording this, that Warner Brothers is looking... This is a quote, that Warner Brothers is looking to make Lord of the Rings a franchise like Star Wars.
Great.
Don't do that. Like, Star Wars hasn't even figured out how to make a franchise like Star Wars.
But it makes money.
It does make money. I don't know. The last 3 Lord of the Rings movies were pretty mid. And by Lord of the Rings movies, I mean the Hobbit movies. So, yeah. I am kind of interested. I want to know if there's a Guillermo del Toro cut of the first Hobbit movie. Because that was the big thing, is that he was going to do the Hobbit movie. And then there were, like, creative differences, whatever that means. And then Peter Jackson had to step in and finish it. So, like, I wonder if there's a Guillermo del Toro cut, because that might be interesting. But I don't know what you do with it. I think like one of the main appeals with specifically the Lord of the Rings trilogy is how simple the premise is. It's like, it's a fantasy thing that you can explain in like 2 sentences. Where it's like, there is a ring that is really bad. A bunch of people go to a volcano to chuck the ring into, because that's the only thing that can destroy it. It's like the only time you can describe a fantasy epic in 2 sentences. I tried explaining Dune to my girlfriend this weekend, and I got like 2 paragraphs in and gave up because I couldn't think of how to describe it. But also I saw it once 2 years ago, so and that's probably a thing too. But I doubt that it's going to be kept this simple. The Hobbit also has a simple premise, but that's just because it's a one book. The show that they were making, at least from what I saw, it was like 4 or 5 different storylines all happening at the same time. Which, don't get me wrong, there are moments in the Lord of the Rings trilogies where the group splits up. I mean, most of them they're split up and you're following different things, but it's all just one main goal. Everybody's trying to help Frodo get to the volcano so he can huck this ring into it. And Sam's the best guy. I know, apparently there's debate. I don't know what's going on, but like there's been some debate over the past couple of weeks as to who like the real hero of that story is. I'm like, it's Sam though. Like that's Sam's like the only good person. Well, there's good people in the group, but I wouldn't say that Frodo is a really good person. He's just kind of there, kind of thrust into it. But I don't know. I'm not hopeful that these are going to be good, but I guess we'll see. I think I did hear that now Peter Jackson's team is involved, so maybe it will be good. If he's involved from the get-go, I'm sure it'll be better than it being thrust upon him like the Hobbit movies were. But we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, we'll finish up news because we really don't have a whole lot. We just have just a teensy bit of show news. But Succession Season 4 is coming out, I guess, this month now, as of this podcast going out. And it is confirmed that this season is going to be the last one.
Done.
I don't know if this was planned. I don't know if this is the studio canceling it. I don't know why the studio would cancel it. I think I heard like one of the writers was like, I guess like it's not one of those stories that can go on forever. I'm like, oh no. Is this like a thing where it was kind of ripped out from under them? Or is this a planned thing? I guess we'll see.
Maybe that like it could go on forever, but we're not doing that.
Maybe. I'd have to look more into it. But yeah, I mean, if it feels like the ending of Arrested Development, then we'll know that the studio canceled it before it was done. But if it feels like, I don't want to say that there's two options where it's either the ending of Arrested Development or the ending of Breaking Bad, but you know the two vibes I'm going for here. The ending of Breaking Bad, I'm sure AMC wanted that show to go on for 13 seasons like The Walking Dead, but they ended that like season 5 and they were done. And it felt like the story was done. So I hope that's how this is, because Succession is very consistent and very consistently good, I would say. It was like, there were multiple times as we were watching it where it's like, man, I can't believe how good this show is. So hopefully they stick the landing. I would really like that. I think it'll go down as a very, very transformative and good show if they stick it. So, hopefully. Okay, that's it for news. Short news week. Do we want to talk about The Last of Us? We can talk about The Last of Us, I suppose.
We've done it every other week, so I might as well at this point.
Yeah. My prediction was true.
We knew that last week, but yeah.
Yeah. So even the episode was called Left Behind. Because I predicted that this episode would be.
Yeah, I guess you could have just looked at the episode names because they're all available.
Yeah, I'm not going to look, but I'm like, oh, it's Left Behind. They're literally gonna just do the Left Behind story, and they did, and it was pretty good. There wasn't a whole lot of changes. Like I just played Left Behind a couple weeks ago, and this was pretty much a 1-to-1 telling, or at least the Riley and Ellie part of it. The part where Ellie is trying to fix Joel was kind of downplayed a little bit. She doesn't go into a big mall to try to find him some sutures and stitches and stuff. But so, what did you think of this episode, huh?
It was very good, like all of the rest of them. I don't know. I feel like this week I might have like the least amount of commentary to add. just
Okay.
because it was pretty cut and dry from the game, but like it was performed like really really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to like skip the whole mall portion and everything.
Yeah.
I am a little sad that we might not get the rabbit scene though. Although we might get that next episode.
Yeah,
I
we
guess.
might get that next episode.
Yeah.
It would be funny. I want to see that streamer
I do want
react
to
to
see
that.
yeah, I do want to see the rabbit scene.
The infamous rabbit scene.
But yeah, I mean Bella Ramsey did fantastic this episode. I feel like I am definitely down with this version of Ellie now.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for weeks, but like this episode definitely solidified it. Where I'm like, that is definitely that character. Even though it is a little different than the one in the game, I feel like I kind of like this version quite a bit. It's more human.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was just really fantastic. It's a little bit of a lighter episode, as light as you can get
Yeah, the ending
compared to
is
the
really
last
light.
three. Yeah, but like it was mostly light.
I guess we know how it ends. It's like
we know how it ends, so yeah. If you
Yeah.
don't know how it ends, then it might be a little bit more fun for you. But this will probably be the lightest episode we get for the rest of the series. So
Yeah. I would say so, for sure. We'll see how they or when they end it, or how they do the ending of this whole shebaz. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say either. This one was, yeah, just straight from the game. I think all the changes they made were actually really really good. I feel like sometimes I'm a little iffy on the changes they make in the show, but this one I was like 100%. Because I think like really the only reason you're playing the Left Behind DLC is to get that Riley and Ellie little thing. Because it's like it doesn't really matter how Ellie gets the stitches to save Joel. Because yeah. But that origin story is really interesting. And especially the ending where they're both bitten. I was kind of hoping to maybe see what happens once Riley turns.
yeah, I was too. I was a little sad that they cut off the episode before that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish they'd finally show.
Because, yeah, you don't see that in the game.
Yeah, I think it could be a flashback later.
Could be.
We have a whole second season. We're just gonna deal with this like.
Well, they got other things to deal with in the second
They
season.
do, but yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting that they actually played Mortal Kombat in the episode, because that was obviously what they were parodying with their like, it's like Knives of Fury or something. They're obviously parodying Mortal Kombat, but since HBO made the Mortal Kombat movie, they might have the rights to it. So it was kind of nice to just see an
It was
actual
interesting.
game.
Like most of the brands were real, but some of them weren't, and like some of the movie posters were fake. Like, and they were the ones from the game. So it was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, there was like one brand that was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was just like right in the middle of the frame, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. But it's just weird seeing like real brands and
Yeah, there's like Target and Best Buy and GameStop and everything. in
yeah,
there.
it's like, oh, okay. But I guess they probably just used a real mall.
Yeah.
Just made it look sketchy. Yeah. No, I thought it was a really well done episode. Not a whole lot to say though. I'm sure we'll have more to say about the next two. But it's weird. This one was like I would say it's probably the weakest out of all these crazy odd numbered episodes. But that's some steep competition.
Yeah, there wasn't a fall off or anything. It was
No.
just yeah.
But I think maybe because it was so similar to the game, there wasn't as much for me in it. For someone who hasn't played the game, I'm sure this is like another like absolutely fantastic episode. But like with the Sam and Henry stuff and the Bill stuff and a little bit of Outbreak Day, it's like enough is different from the game and like really cool and like really interesting what they changed and what they added. Whereas like those episodes like feel great, but this one was just like, oh, okay, it's just a game, which is fine, but not as much for gamers like us, I suppose. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll come back next week and talk about cannibals, probably.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Yeah, I don't see how they would. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the pacing is pretty straightforward from here on out.
Yeah.
Which is good, I guess. So, there you go. Very good. Let's talk about some bad movies. Because I watched... I watched 4 movies, because I also saw Cocaine Bear, and I'm going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about 4 bad movies, I suppose. Spoilers, I guess, for my thoughts on Cocaine Bear. The first movie I saw was Ghoulies, 1985, I think. So horror movies in the 80s are pretty much divided into 2 camps. You had slashers or Gremlins knockoffs. And Gremlins knockoffs were like really popular from like 1984 to 1988, I would say, because I think that's when Gremlins 2 came out. So you got, within the span of like 3 years, you got Gremlins, Ghoulies, and Critters. And I believe Ghoulies is just generally regarded as the worst one out of those 3. What makes Ghoulies different from Gremlins and I suppose Critters too? I believe Gremlins and Critters, they're alien movies. They are some sort of extraterrestrials. I know Critters is. I've never seen Gremlins. But this one's a little different because the little monsters that attack people are actually demons? They're satanic in some way. The start of the movie is a satanic ritual where like a bunch of people in like scary robes are kneeling before a scary guy with really bad green eye contacts, and he's gonna like sacrifice a baby, and there's also a bunch of little ghoulies there just watching. And then what's the guy's name from Twin Peaks? The fishing guy. Is that Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete's in it.
Let's go.
So scary satanic cult man is about to kill a baby, and then the baby's mom is like, "Don't kill that baby. That's my son. You said you wouldn't kill him." And he's like, "Back off, woman. I'm gonna kill your son so that I can do a satanic ritual."
I'm gonna kill your son.
Pretty much. This isn't the worst movie I saw, by the way. I think I gave this movie 2 stars. Maybe, well, actually, I should probably look that up because I don't want to give this movie unprompt praise. But yeah, so he's like, you let me kill your baby, and then Pete comes in and steals the baby. While everyone else is too busy fighting, he just runs in and steals it. So, thus starts the series of events. That baby grows up and turns into like a 35-year-old, 19-year-old. That is a 35-year-old playing a 19-year-old, which is as awkward as it sounds. But he is growing up, and he has this fascination with satanic culture, and he starts doing some black magic and stuff. It's really weird. It's not a very good movie. But yeah, once the ghoulies attack, I guess it's okay. Like the last 10 minutes are interestingly weird and kind of schlocky. But yeah, no spoilers for Ghoulies because I don't want to spoil this movie. Let me see what I rated it. Ghoulies came out in 1985. I don't remember if that's what I said. I gave it 1.5 stars. I feel like that's deserved. The next movie I watched is the worst movie I've ever seen, I think. It is Blood Feast from, I think it's like 1970 something, late 70s. It is like a Z tier movie. Like we just watched Zat like this a couple months ago, and it felt like Zat but like worse. um, the story is there's this Egyptian immigrant man who is actually the reverse of the Ghoulies guy, because he's like a 30-year-old playing like a 70-year-old man. And in terms of like old age makeup, they like drew a couple lines on his forehead and then went to like their local party city and got like gray hair spray paint and then just like sprayed his hair gray. And he murders young women because he's trying to do a ritual to the Egyptian god Ishtar. And he's going to have a big feast where he's going to feed a bunch of people human flesh. And it's not very good. The acting in it is like maybe the worst I have ever seen. The score was god awful. It was like it was just like a couple notes like sprinkled in. It was like they hired one instrumentalist and then they were just doing it live on the spot. It was so weird. And I'm gonna take a minute to talk about Day for Night, because I don't know if I've ever talked about Day for Night. But it's a practice usually done by really bad B movies, where instead of shooting footage at night, where you have to bring a bunch of lights and it's very inconvenient, what you do is you shoot during the day and then you tint the footage blue so it looks like it's nighttime. It never looks good, but this is by far the worst I've ever seen. The best I've ever seen is in Nope. Bet you didn't even know that was Day for Night. I think all the night scenes were Day for Night. I only found that out very recently. But yeah, I did not know that. But yeah, it's regarded as like the first like splatter film, which is like maybe like Saw or something, where it's kind of like there's a little bit of torture porn in there, but it's just a lot of gore. So it's regarded as a very important movie in that regard, but it's bad. It's only an hour long, but it felt like it was like 2 hours. It was bad. I think if I watched it with a group, it might be different, because I mean we would just be laughing about how bad it is. But watching it by myself was rough. So that's Blood Feast. And then the last movie I watched is in the worst movies on this poster is 2015's Frankenstein. It's a modern retelling of the classic, the Universal monster, the Mary Shelley book, Frankenstein. Except it takes place in modern day LA, and it has Lady from The Matrix in it. Yeah, who doesn't love Lady? There's 3 characters in Matrix: Morpheus, Neo, and Lady. And Lady's in it. She plays Victor Frankenstein's wife, and they're like researchers. They're super rich, and they have a big underground bunker where they do research. And instead of like taking pieces from like corpses to make like a Frankenstein's monster, they like 3D print a human being and then somehow give it life. I don't know. But it's like I'm trying to describe this movie because it's really, really weird. It's basically just like watching a 20-something-year-old guy act like a baby who's like superhumanly strong and can't die. While there's like narration that I'm assuming is him in the future, where he's talking in like I don't like Mars Volta lyrics, where it's just really unnecessarily complicated, and it's like, oh, okay, so I guess he becomes smart at some point. But yeah, he just goes around like killing people who like mess with him. I think the whole thing is that, oh, man is the real monster. It's kind of like that Chappie movie where it's like they build a robot and then everybody abuses the robot and so that the robot joins a gang or something. I don't know. I never saw the movie. But instead of joining a gang, Frankenstein gets together with the guy who played the Candyman, and the Candyman is blind, so he can't see how ugly this guy is, because the big oopsie that the scientists made is that Victor Frankenstein is like, yeah, I gave him like super fast cellular regeneration, so like if he gets a cut or anything, it's just gonna heal like really fast. He's gonna be like the Wolverine, I suppose. But what smart scientist man didn't realize is that if you give someone super fast cellular regeneration, then they're probably going to get cancer. And then it's going to spread really fast because you just. It's kind of like, isn't that Deadpool's whole thing? Doesn't he look like awful because he has cancer all over his body?
I think so.
Yeah, it's
I don't know,
basically.
It's been years since I've watched that movie.
I don't remember. I just know he looks ugly, and I think that's why.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, they start noticing that this guy has tumors, and so then they try to give him a lethal injection and put him out of his misery, but that doesn't take. So then he escapes, and he finds a dog once he escapes, and the dog helps him find dead carcasses, and then they eat like maggots and stuff, because he was never taught how to eat or how to drink or anything, so he's just like eating bugs. And then he and his dog go to this lake, and then there are some cops, and they're like, yo, this guy looks weird. And so then they start like roughing up the guy, and then the dog gets angry, and the dog doesn't attack the cops, but the cops are like, yo, dude, like, call your dog. Like, if you don't call your dog, I'm gonna shoot him because I'm a cop.
Usually they don't ask.
Yeah, they don't usually ask. But it was like, the dog is like a big old like German shepherd, so it was a scary looking dog. But this guy doesn't talk because he was never taught how to talk. The only word he says is mom, because he loves Lady from the Matrix. So then the cops shoot the dog, and then that makes Frankenstein really angry. So then he murders the cops, and then more cops come along and they take him to jail, and then because they're cops, they're like, we're gonna kill this guy, so they they put him in a straitjacket and like take him under a bridge, and then they just start beating him, and then they shoot him in the head. But that doesn't kill him because the super fast cellular regeneration, I guess. So then he just like starts hanging out with this blind guy under the bridge who's played by the Candyman. And he's a cool guy. He plays guitar, and he plays the blues, and he teaches him how to talk and stuff. So it's all right. This one was the best movie I saw this week. And it wasn't really that good, but it was fine, I suppose. So out of those three, I would recommend, I guess, if you want to watch Frankenstein, it's free on like all of those free streaming services like Tubi or Freevee or whatever. So you can watch it with ads, and it's only like an hour and a half long, and it's all right. It's worth a watch, I suppose. The other two are not. Don't bother with Ghoulies or Blood Feast. I would say Ghoulies is a good like hack-o'-lantern type movie. So if you want to have like a Halloween bad movie night, then throw on Ghoulies. Don't throw on Blood Feast. I think that one's too bad. but Ghoulies is probably fun. And then I'm going to talk about Cocaine Bear, because I did watch Cocaine Bear, and it was not at all what I was expecting. I felt lied to. I felt like the marketing for this movie was intentionally deceitful.
What?
I know.
That would never happen.
So I don't know if y'all are familiar with how this movie was marketed or how the trailer for this movie made it seem. The kind of marketing for this movie was all like, say yes to the Cocaine Bear. This is going to be an unhinged comedy epic about a bear who's on cocaine. I went ahead and watched the trailer after I watched the movie. And they're playing like light music, like it feels very much like a off the rails comedy type trailer. The movie is a generic slasher. It's not interesting at all. But the thing with most slashers is that you introduce the characters who are going to be killed and you make them unlikable, so that when you watch them get murdered, it's like, it's not like it doesn't feel great, but like the thing with this movie is that all of the characters are so like quirky, and like it's just like, oh, I don't want this person to die. Like every single person has like a weird quirk, and it's like it's really interesting. So there's like a park ranger who is like in love with like this hippie guy that comes in and is like, you gotta treat animals all right. Oh, don't light fires in the woods, because that's gonna cause a forest fire, man. And this lady's like putting on lipstick and she's trying to look all pretty for this guy. But yeah, that doesn't even matter. It's not like, oh, they grow together through this experience of seeing a crazy bear. It's like, no, that dude is like murdered. He's the first one to get murdered. And then the bear breaks into the lodge and like murders the lady. And it's like, okay, none of this is satisfying. It's like, I'm just watching characters die all the time. Characters that are like likable. But I think like the main characters is they work for like they work for like the cocaine business, where like this guy went rogue and then he threw a bunch of cocaine out of an airplane before jumping out himself, but then his parachute didn't work, so he just died because he was high on cocaine after all. So then they send in O'Shea Jackson Jr. and the guy who played Han Solo in the Han Solo movie. They send them in, and it's they have a really interesting dynamic, because the guy who played Han Solo is like so depressed. His dad runs this drug cartel, but his wife just died. So like he's like, I'm done with the business. I'm like, I need to take some time to grieve. But like his dad makes him go out with this other guy who works in the business to like find this cocaine, and like, I don't know, the depressed guy is just like, he doesn't really want to be there, and he's just like really nice to everybody. And then O'Shea Jackson is like kind of rude. He's just like drug dealer stereotype, I guess. But it's nice. At the end, they become friends. So that's sweet, I suppose. But this is the first thing I've seen O'Shea Jackson Jr. in since Straight Outta Compton, where he played his dad, Ice Cube. And I thought he was great in that. If you have not seen Straight Outta Compton, I would recommend it. It's a very good music biopic about the NWA folks. But yeah, he was pretty good in this. I think the acting was actually pretty good overall in this movie. It's just watching a bear eat people is not interesting in itself. Like,
It's about as interesting as the real story it was based on.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about what that. I know a bear ate a bunch of cocaine, and then I
That's
think,
it.
yeah, I think like people,
I think the bear probably died, but nobody
I
else
think it
died.
died.
It
Yeah.
was- yeah.
The thing with slashers nowadays, if you make a slasher, there has to be like a twist, you know? Like there's a reason that like Scream came out like when the slasher genre was already kind of on its last legs, and that was in the 90s, and that was like a big like kind of meta thing where like horror movies exist in that universe. And like they talk about Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and Friday the 13th like all the time. So they're like, oh no, like don't go in there. It's like a horror movie. Don't do that. So like that was like the fun little twist in that. The twist in this movie is that there's a bear on cocaine, and it's like a random lol XD. That's like the extent of like the unhingedness is that look, bear on cocaine. But it isn't really,
Reached 2014 levels of like, haha, funny bacon.
yeah, pretty much. Like it's not funny, and like the gore effects I guess are good, but it's all like CGI. So it's weird. It falls into like that kind of uncanny valley for me whenever like CGI gore is done, especially to like the extent it's used in this one. There's so many like plug-in effects and stuff. I don't think there was a real squib. I don't think anybody on set had even heard of a squib, because like everything was just we'll do it in post. The big bear will just be put in post, which that's understandable. I wouldn't want to have a real bear on set. But it's not interesting, you know. There's maybe a world where this is interesting if you want to just do like a generic slasher, a bunch of douchey college kids go into the woods, and like I don't know, they all have sex with each other in a cabin and drink booze. And then there's a bear on cocaine that makes its way into the cabin and slowly starts eating a bunch of people. Maybe the teens in the cabin, they brought cocaine and like it's a big drug fueled party. And so then the bear is like, ooh, I want some more cocaine. So then he like tries to break in, and then all the I don't know. It's not a good idea for a movie. But like the weird quirkiness of it almost takes away from the fact that it's like just such a generic idea. Right? They don't do anything interesting with a pretty interesting concept, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I think the last thing, because this movie is, I believe, written and directed by Elizabeth Banks, who's an actress. The last movie she made was the Charlie's Angels reboot in 2017, where she made herself Bosley. I'm like, why'd you got rid of the one black character in the entire franchise and made it you, a white woman? Like, how are you gonna get rid of Bosley? It's the best guy in the whole thing. So, yeah, she seems to like making like weirdo like it seems like before this she was making like feminist type, well, not really feminist movies. Feminist in the sense that like Ghostbusters 2016 is a feminist movie.
A modified girl boss feminism.
Yeah. And then like she took like a complete right turn and was like, okay, I'm just gonna make a weirdo movie. But like all of the female characters in it are just pining over men, or there's like this overarching story is that a mom is trying to find her daughter who was kidnapped by the cocaine bear. I don't know why the bear didn't eat the daughter like it eats everybody else. But yeah, so like the only female characters are pining over men or fulfilling their maternal instincts. All of the other characters are men. So like I don't know. It's such a weird. It'd be like if Greta Gerwig made the Barbie movie, but like all of the Barbies were Ken dolls, and then all of the actual. Well, actually, I don't know what the Barbie movie's gonna be. I guess I should probably use like, be like if Greta Gerwig made Little Women, but then replaced like three of the women with dudes, and then the last Little Woman was like pining over all three of them, and it became like a weird little, I don't know, rom com. I don't know. Don't watch Cocaine Bear. That's the lesson here. I believe I gave it 2 stars. So yeah, Frankenstein I gave 3 stars. Or no, I think I gave it 2.5. So watch Frankenstein over Cocaine Bear, I suppose. So, but what's a little disappointing, I saw that with my girlfriend, and then there was a trailer for a talking dog movie starring Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx, where it's like a unhinged comedy, or at least that's how the trailer is. She's like, I want to see that. That looks unhinged.
No,
Like you thought Cocaine Bear looked unhinged, and I feel lied too.
it's just like Scrappy Dog mixed with like Sausage Party.
Pretty much, yeah. I was kind of interested in it at first because the trailer started and it was Will Forte, and I love Will Forte. He's the only person from Tim and Eric Awesome Show who just works all the time. I think that's kind of funny. I guess except for Bob Odenkirk, because he's a busy guy. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's fun, and then it just evolved into like Seth Rogen humor. Like, oh no. So there you go. That's movie talk of the week. That's actually it for my segment. We're gonna throw it on over to James with music stuff.
I don't have too much this week. A couple things. In terms of new music, there's actually a lot that came out this week, but I wasn't really interested in a lot of it. So
Wow.
we had the Gorillaz album, which is getting okay reception.
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of expected it to be a little mid, and it is a little mid, apparently. He dropped an album. It's like the definition of mid from what I'm hearing, so
Wow,
that's
yeah.
awesome. Logic dropped an album. I haven't listened to it yet. I don't know if I'm going to plan on listening to it. I feel like he's in a pretty good spot with where he's at right now. I just don't know if that's what I want to listen to right now. Plus, he puts these really bad skits on all of his albums that I have to sit through, and I don't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Seth MacFarlane on this album. Like, what is he gonna do?
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Does he do the Brian Dog voice?
I hope so.
Awesome.
But the ones I did listen to, or the single one, I should say, the new Algiers album came out. I talked about this group a while ago because they had a single with Billy Woods and Backwash. Fantastic song, but the album came out. And it's pretty good. There's definitely it definitely suffers from like having too many non-songs, which is a kind of a theme that people fall into, which is weird. I think we had that with like that Caroline record or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like the songs that are songs are pretty good, but like there's too many non-songs.
Right.
Like there's a lot of like, because Big Rube's all over this thing, and I like Big Rube, but like I don't need like 7 interludes from him or whatever. But the actual songs are fantastic. There's also Zach De La Roca on this thing, so it's a very good mix of like it. I guess it's like kind of a post-punk, experimental hip-hop, kind of jazz punk record, if I was gonna put it into a category. It's kind of all over the place. It's like if T-Pab had a lot more of like a grungy kind of darker feel to it. But there's a wide range of influences going on here. It's pretty great. The songs that are really good are like fantastic, and the songs that are like decent are still pretty good. It's just like there's so many like weird little skits and like minute songs here where it's like if you cut a lot of that fat out, like this is a fantastic album, like front to finish, front to back. But very interesting. Like this is, I'm loving, just as we continue to go forward, this trend of like blending genres together is one of my favorite things, and when it's done right, it feels really great.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good record. I forgot it was coming out. I know that song has been out for a while. I did not realize the record was just coming out, but glad it's here. One of my favorites from this year, out of the very few I've listened to. This is a slow start to the year.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's this record from a group called Model Actress or something. That's getting like crazy good reviews. That's like dance punk, post punk, industrial rock. So I kind of want to check that out this week. That's kind of where I'm probably going to find gems this year, is from bands I have no idea who they are, since everybody dropped last year.
Yeah.
But in other news, the JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown album has a title. I think it's called Music to Scare the Hose 2 Volume 1. I think that's the title they came up with.
That's a good title.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. They did share a little snippet on Danny Brown's podcast, and it is quirked up. So it should be a really fun album. So I'm guessing that'll be coming pretty quick now that we're getting like more and more info on this thing.
Yeah.
So definitely excited for that, especially since Peggy said he's dropping 3 albums this year. I'd expect them to start coming pretty quick here. And I know Danny Brown said his other album was done too, so might be a lot of things from them this year, which is not a bad thing at all.
No.
Daft Punk is releasing a 10th anniversary to Random Access Memories in May. So
I
that's
saw
cool.
that, yeah.
I think it's just a lot of like, I think there's a couple new songs, but there's also like a lot of demos and outtakes and stuff. So that'll be interesting. Fantastic album. I feel like that's a classic. But that'll be coming out. The artwork for it is pretty cool. We'll see if they do like a new vinyl release for it or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that's all the new news. What do we have coming this week? I guess this will be the first week in March. I know we got Gex coming this month, and Lana Del Rey, and Boy Genius.
Yeah.
At the very end of it. So things are coming. It's just kind of slow starting out. But I don't know. I haven't been paying attention too much. I don't think there's really been much else news in terms of music, and in terms of stuff we care about, at least. So I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, it's been kind of a slow week. I don't know what's going on. But I guess I'll take it, I suppose. But
Real.
a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but that's okay. Trying to think if there's anything next week we'll be talking about. I think I'm planning on doing the reverse of what I just did, so I'm going to do the top 3 rated movies on IMDb instead of the bottom 3. See how that goes. I think one of them is Terminator 2, which is going to be fun. I've never seen Terminator 2. So that'll be fun. I love James Cameron. James Cameron. I just really like it when people like my Blue People movie. I think he's American. I don't know why I'm doing that accent. Maybe he is. What ethnicity is James Cameron? Oh, he's Canadian. Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm not even gonna try. He's from.
Oh yeah, bud.
He's from Kapuskasing, Canada.
Kapuskasing there, bud.
Where is this?
Northeast of Nova Scotia.
It's actually in northern Ontario.
Ah.
This is a really small town. I'm surprised James Cameron is from here. He strikes me as a Toronto man. If he's from Canada at all. If that is really where he's from. Wouldn't surprise me if he's pulling a little
He's
trick.
lying.
Yeah. He's doing a little goof on all of us.
He's just embarrassed to be from the UK.
Yeah.
But James Cameron is too much of a British name for my liking.
Yeah. I found out a really disturbing fact because I found out where Wes Anderson is from. Do you know where Wes Anderson is from?
No, I know he's like a Frenchaboo.
He is a Frenchaboo. If you had to guess, I'll say that he's American.
New Jersey.
See, that's what I thought. I would have thought that he was from like,
I would have thought he's in like the worst state possible. That's why he likes France so much. But
well, he's from Texas.
oh, well, that's not far behind. I
That
guess.
doesn't strike. He is
Yeah,
not
he
a
doesn't strike me
Texas
as a
man.
Texas man.
No.
He's got to be like an Austin, Texas man. He's got to be hippie, Texas.
Let me see. He's from Houston.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
You think you know a guy?
Yeah, I know. I guess that means that all the Wilsons are from Houston too, because I think they grew up together. Which is weird to think that Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson were like childhood friends, but I guess it's a small world. Which is why Owen Wilson is in like every single Wes Anderson movie. Kind of like Bill Murray. Which is Bill Murray gonna be in the new one?
I don't know.
He probably
Isn't
won't
he
be
like
anymore.
700 million years old?
Well, yes. But also, he's been canceled.
Oh, no.
Didn't you see that?
No. I don't go online a lot anymore.
I don't remember what it was. It was like weird sex stuff.
Yeah, I had no idea that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it's somewhere in between Louis C.K. and Kevin Spacey, because it was like weird assault stuff, like behind the scenes. But yeah, it doesn't look like that he's in the cast for Asteroid City, which is Wes Anderson's new movie, which is coming out in June. That's Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is top billed.
Yippee.
I like Tom Hanks. It also has Tony Revolori in it, who was Lobby Boy in Grand Budapest. I guess his name is Zero in the movie. But that's it for podcast. Bye!